Welcome to the Volpe Report podcast, the state's premier public affairs show dedicated to the topics that matter most to Pennsylvanians. I'm your host, Chuck Volpe. Join us now as we speak to this week's guest.
The following half-hour show is a paid political program and is not endorsed by this station, management, or staff.
The following program is brought to you by Excalibur Insurance Management Services.
This is the Volpe Report, a weekly news and political interview show examining the latest local, state, and national issues with Chuck Volpe. Insightful, informative, controversial, the area's premier political talk show, the Volpe Report.
Welcome to today's Volpe Report. Today's show is a labor of love for me. My audience knows that for several years now, even when it was not popular, and I'm going to go back 4 years, at least 4, maybe 5, I have made it an issue to talk about what's happening in academia. The fact that our campuses have been overrun by leftists and what is just a censorship-laden, cancel culture type of environment that has really overtaken many of our universities. They have canceled professors, they have canceled student groups, they have created bias reporting, BRS reporting systems you're familiar with. Yep. Are in existence. It was offensive to me. They became crucibles of conformity. You were not allowed to speak your mind. Everything a university traditionally was supposed to be, the free and fair exchange of ideas, which they welcome, were no longer welcome. I heard things like trigger warnings and microaggressions and brought in experts to talk about those things. Well, from the darkness, I think someone said, someone should light a candle. Well, someone lit a candle, and that was Charlie Kirk, who, of course, we all know was tragically assassinated for professing his beliefs and living his beliefs. And Charlie Kirk believed that a lot of the indoctrination that had occurred with students on these campuses, starting all the way back to middle school and high school, I'll talk more about that later, but that they were closed-minded, and he wanted to engage them and have them question their values and question the indoctrination they had received and hopefully bring students into the light. Well, he has inspired chapters all over the United States of America of young students who want to carry on his mission and were inspired by him. And right here, and of course, this media market covers Northeast and Central Pennsylvania. But for today's show, we're going to concentrate on the colleges and universities in Northeastern Pennsylvania. We have a few students here representative of that coalition, and it includes many of the other universities. So I'm going to go around the table. I'm going to start with the leader of the coalition first, although he sits right to my right, and we'll get to the other two. And that's Rob Coco, who is a senior at the University of Scranton, a political science major. Rob, I'll turn it to you. Go ahead. First of all, good luck in your endeavor.
Well, thank you so much for having us on behalf of myself and the guys here and the whole organization. It means the world to us, so I thank you. Basically, I had an idea after Charlie Kirk's unfortunate passing where I said, what if we did something for this area? There doesn't seem to be a lot of turning point in the area. The college campuses had Republican clubs, but they were not active. They were more small. So I thought, there's a lot of voices here. Why not bring them all together and put them under one banner, Turning Point banner, right after, the unfortunate loss of Charlie Kirk. So we started building upon that idea, and eventually we settled on focusing on our Gen Z voters, informing them, keeping them up to date, but also having them engage in politics within the local community and the national level. And our goal is just to be able to reach out to them, say, hey, like you mentioned in the beginning, we are here for everybody. It's strength in numbers. And we're going to not only fight for you, but fight for all Christian and conservative ideals and values going forward. And to make sure that the indoctrination that goes on in college campuses is at least a little bit offset by our work and our group.
Well, that's a great explanation, Rob. Let's now turn to Dylan from Wilkes University. A very young-looking, I've started to say he's a freshman. I was very impressed with his leadership skills in taking up this on behalf of Wilkes University, but it turns out you're a little bit older freshman. So talk about a little bit of your background, Dylan, and then secondarily, why you were inspired to get into the Turning Point ideals.
Yes. I came to college later on in life. I've been in the military for about 10 years now.
Well, first of all, thank you for your service.
You're welcome. like you said, this is my freshman year, but I have the prior background. And ever since Charlie Kirk got assassinated, I just kind of put my ideals into action, because as a freshman, I had to get a feel for the environment at first. But after that tragic assassination, I had to at least put my moves into action and see what everybody thinks, because you need to advocate for caring about everybody as a whole. And if you don't have these discussions, people kind of lose their compassion.
Right. Well, I want to say that, first of all, what branch of military were you in?
The Army.
The Army. And second of all, I want to just comment on that you have the crucifix on your lapel, obviously expressive of Christianity. Christian values was something Charlie Kirk believed in and something you're going to be advocating.
Right.
And it's all tied together. I mean, a fundamental tenet of Western civilization was obviously Christianity. A lot of what I see for young students, myself, and young people generally is this, suicides at record highs, depression are at record highs. And part of the reason is that if you have no hope for what your future and what your point and the meaning of being on earth even is, if it's a nihilistic view of the world, an existential view of the world, well, then you get depression if none of this matters. Well, it's important to bring those values back. Right. Now, let me turn, of course, to you, Jared.
Yes.
You are actually at also the University of Scranton and, of course, work with Rob here. So talk a little bit about your view of why you're involved and what you hope to accomplish.
Yeah, Rob was telling me about this, and I felt pulled towards it because I really did follow Charlie Kirk. I felt every word that he kind of brought up, a lot of what he said. I didn't follow it on the political side because I'm not a really political man, but it was more the religious side that pulled me. And then Rob said he was starting this turning point up, and it just drawn me in. And I was like, I would love to help out for a cause like this.
Right.
This would be like an anchor for me.
Wonderful. Well, the fact that you're already a graduate student,
Yes.
Again, congratulations, going for your master's. Some of what's going on, I noticed when I mentioned the BRS reporting system, you knew immediately what I was talking about. And for our audience, and we'll get more, that's biased reporting, effectively, a bias-based reporting system that is effectively to root out any sort of bias anywhere on campus that would trigger a microaggression. And let me give you an example, because I had a national expert actually on this talking about it. And here's an example of an emeritus professor at UCLA. This is during the summer of the George Floyd riots. And he is obviously a multiracial classroom. And one of his students, who it turned out was in fact a white student, woman, sent out this thing that she suggested that he should cancel all exams, for final exams. This is for, because remember, it was going into the summer that this happened, because of the trauma that black students were dealing with. The professor, by the way, was also a lawyer, so he knew a little bit about the law. And he responded, he understood her point, but no, he had to have basis. 50% of the grade was the exam. And that while he understood the generalization she made that apparently just because you were black, that you would be traumatized by this, even though you had no connection whatsoever, he didn't find to be enough to cancel the exams. So she then comes back with that there should then be a curve to effectively give any student of color effectively a guaranteed A grade, to which he said that would be an offense to the academic freedom that universities and I as a professor have. It would also be discriminatory to any student who doesn't happen to fit that category, so he didn't agree to it. She starts an online mob cancel culture movement, and he was suspended. Here are some real life examples of what they deal with on campus. So let me start with you, Rob.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. I want to bring up the Oklahoma University student that submitted an opinion-based paper about, it was about life and genders. And it cited God and Christianity, and she got a 0 recently. This just happened. Now, the class was taught by 2 teaching assistants, and I'm pretty sure one of the teaching assistants that gave her the 0 is on suspension. But think about what I just said. Someone cited Christianity and God in an opinion-based essay about gender ideologies, and she got a 0 for it. A perfect student, by the way, she never got in bad grades. and you're getting a 0. That is the type of stuff that we're dealing with on college campuses. We have teachers that proclaim to be unbiased and fair, but then will insert their own political beliefs into what they're teaching and then have that show up on the test. An example being, I had a teacher that told me that FDR never tried to pack the courts when he was president.
That's a lie.
That's a lie. He did. She lied to me, told me that he never did that. And then on the test, that one of the questions was surrounding that, and I got that question wrong.
Even though you were correct.
Even though I was correct. So, it's stuff like that. It might seem small to someone, but when you let the small things go, it becomes much more easy for the bigger things to be let go as well. So you can't let things like that get away with. You can't let teachers and professors get away with lies, even if at a small level, because that's how we got to this point in our indoctrination on college campuses.
Now, let me turn to you, Dylan. Your examples of what you see going on in campuses and what motivated you to get involved.
Luckily, so far on campus, there's just been little things like it's just been anonymous social media slander and lies about us. They've been taking down our posters randomly, not
Who's
to
they?
a huge extent. Just random students. I'm not sure who it
From the
is.
left, that's what they do.
But they hide behind a screen. That's the great thing about technology now. You can attack people while not revealing who you are, do it anonymously, and that's how a lot of our attacks on social media have been as of late, not to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so far there hasn't been any legitimate threat beside the usual keyboard warriors and just anonymous tips and everything of that nature. Even the meeting notes when we went in front of student government, just the meeting notes said that our organization was controversial. There's nothing controversial. I'm not trying to push my ideologies or my beliefs. I'm just trying to promote open discussion.
That's what universities are supposed to be about, Dylan.
Right.
Let me turn to you now, Jared. Your any examples or what you see?
Yeah, so I've done my 4 years at college. I've seen a lot, and my views definitely changed unconsciously. Like, I didn't realize it. Mind you, I never really felt strongly political till after getting to know Rob and learning a little bit more and more. But yeah, on campus, I went back home and I was like not completely different person, but like I saw stuff completely differently than how I left my home.
Right.
And yeah, I've known students on campus. I even had some free elective classes as a bio student, not political at all, where I had to restrain myself from writing my opinion on papers. And I know
get demerits or failed.
Yeah, they would take points off if you didn't write to what their pleasure was, if that makes sense. And yeah, I know political science students that literally believe one way but write the other way. And
Right here.
Yeah.
it's
Well, you actually, I remember stories to feed off what Jared's saying, Rob. You've told me stories where, you just gave one example and other examples where you took the D that you didn't deserve, but rather than just
Depends on the class. Obviously, I don't want to get a D for the semester, but if there was a essay or something where I can write my actual opinion out and afford to take the loss there, so that it's not offset.
Simply for exercising your rights of free speech and
for sharing a different opinion.
Which is what, again, the whole basis of university knowledge and why they're accredited to teach. It's not to give you a bunch of rules, because anybody can look that up on their smartphone now.
That's right.
It's to engage and have your mind engaged, to be exposed to different theories. It's not to be crucibles of conformity. But again, that's the evil of the leftist Marxist secular, because of course Marxism, there is no God. And that's what they're teaching, is that all you are is your identity, and it's a collective. And of course, that's so contrary to the basic, what our founders based the founding of this country on. We're all imbued with inalienable natural rights from the Creator. It says that.
Says it right
there in Declaration of Independence in our Constitution. And those natural rights, the role of government fundamentally is what our founders intended. The role of government is to protect those rights.
I'm sure you've heard the 9 most dangerous words in the English language are,
No.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Ronald
Reagan.
Yep.
Well, believe it or not, guys, we're already at our first break, which we ran through a little bit, but that's okay. Again, we're here today with representatives of the University of Scranton and Wilkes University, but there are many others as part of the coalition, and we'll talk a little bit more about Rob, about the different facets and how many other people are involved when we come back from this break. We'll be right back.
I'm Joanne Mayer from Cypress House Bakery. Cypress House Bakery emerges as a beacon of redemption and renewal. Its purpose is to combat the profound challenges faced by formerly incarcerated individuals by creating a supportive post-prison reentry program that fosters stability and self-sufficiency through hands-on baking operations. As a dedicated second chance employer, the bakery offers living wages that honor dignity and enable true independence, alongside comprehensive trade training in the culinary arts that equips apprentices with marketable, lifelong skills. Join us and our dedicated board members, fresh baked treats, and participate in powerful table talk sessions with formerly incarcerated individuals who courageously share their lived experiences.
Well, we're here again with some college students and graduate students talking about the starting of Charlie Kirk's turning point chapters at the various universities on campus to give a much needed counterpoint of view. I had talked to them before, and I think appropriate at this time. I'm going to read from my audience knows I quote the Washington Examiner often. So let me give you a quote, and then I'm going to get your comment on this. Now, this quote is from Charles Lipson. He's political science professor emeritus at the University of Chicago. And here's what he said. We've had a very ideological movement, really starting in middle schools. That's scary, by the way. But certainly by the time they get to high school. And it's especially in the more prosperous suburbs that has created a kind of protest culture that sees America as fundamentally the source of evil in the world, which is a fairly scary thing. And then he goes on to say, students who are increasingly exposed to leftist ideas in their grade school classrooms will find themselves inundated with those sentiments if they attend any elite university, where protests are now part of the social fabric of college experience. Some of these protests target the university themselves, often some of the most liberal institutions in the country, as bastions of inequality over long past historical inequities or obscure investments, offers a preview to those students of how they will likely view the less liberal society they'll graduate into. And I'll end with this. And he says, I think the coalition on the left, which has been around on college campuses for probably 2 decades now, is almost entirely a negative coalition. That is, they are held together by what they are against, not anything that they're for, and that's not an oversight. The reason for that is the nature of the groups in the coalition have such different goals, affirmatively, that they really couldn't say, well, an example, well, I'm for Gaza that really is open to gays and lesbians and transgenders, because the Muslims in that coalition would not favor that. Indeed, they're quite opposed to that. So they talk about they just have all of these self-contradictory policies which are held together not because they're in favor, I think, of some positive agenda, but because they're against things. What are they mostly against? They're against capitalism. They're against the idea that America is a fundamentally good society, end quote. Yeah. Let me start with you, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, just think about what we're talking about. We're talking about a group of people that are focused on hatred and the negative. It's the classic expression, glass half full, glass half empty. Yeah. The Republican side right now, or the conservatives, is the side of glass half full. It's got more upside. It's got more positivity. You read it out perfectly. They are united by their shared hatred over certain ideas and certain opinions. Not by all of them, but by specific ones. That's why they can't run a candidate on the national stage to much success unless he's 80 years old and it's in COVID. Right. Because they don't have ideas that separate them. They only have ideas that they hate that the other side has. And that's just not going to be a recipe for success. And you know what? At this point, I would just advise people to, instead of thinking with hatred, thinking that the glass is half empty, think the opposite. Think more positively. Start thinking about the things that you care about that aren't just centered around this hatred or this shared desire that someone is wrong. Instead, try to prove them why they're wrong and try to prove your point. That's what we're trying to do.
That's what Charlie Kirk tried to do.
Right.
Explain to them and hopefully educate. Like, it's an amazing thing for me to see the LGBTQ plus community carrying signs for pro-Hamas, effectively, pro-Palestine liberation, not understanding that the group that runs Gaza Strip would kill every single one of them the moment they step foot in the Gaza Strip. There's a level of stupidity and ignorance that's galling to me. But at any rate, nonetheless, your take on that, Dylan.
My whole take on that article is it feeds into what I was pointing out earlier. You have to have the discussions to get your point across and have these discussions to care about each other. A lot of people are not informed at all, and you need to actually look deeper into the topic than just scrape off of the surface, like a lot of people around me do.
Right.
I'd say right here. Yeah, I'd say that sums it up pretty well. It's kind of funny, like exactly what you just said. As soon as they step foot over that border, that would be it.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that these people can get behind such a movement that's so contradictory. It's just centered around hate.
Right. They're united by hate.
Yeah, and I can't. It's like I said, I'm not a really political person, but like coming from a common sense outstanding. I'm just standing there looking in, like, what's going on?
Common sense isn't political.
It's just I can't understand.
Well, one of the things that bothered me most, the word I haven't uttered yet that I should utter, is hypocrisy. The same universities, and you may have seen this around here, but the same universities that were canceling speakers because a student mob got together of students protesting how offensive those views were because they might be Christian or they may be conservative or they may be something in that realm. But then when the speech turned hateful against Jews after the horrible attack by Hamas in Israel, October 7, 2023, and all of these radical students went out, pro-Palestine, apartheid, Israel's a genocidal country, attacking them, all of that was hateful, literally preventing Jewish students from going to class, attacking them. They were locked in their dorms for safety and told by the administration to stay there. Well, all of a sudden, when that was outrageous and everybody said, why don't you stop it? You have the power to stop those protests. They said, well, they have First Amendment rights, freedom of speech. The same First Amendment rights that they would not accord because they had speech codes written right into their documents of the university. They wouldn't let any controversial speaker come to campus because that might trigger microaggressions in our students. Apparently, they didn't care about the Jewish students then. They let all of that speech go. It was hateful. It was a call to violence. In fact, they acted out the violence. In the double standard I get back to, and then the college professors were called in before Congress. You may have seen some of those.
Yes, I did.
University of Pennsylvania, of course. How could we forget Harvard and all that? And they said, well, it's contextual. What a bunch of garbage. It was is black and white, the hypocrisy. We basically targeted conservative or Christian values and would not let those come or be spoken on campus because we didn't want to have our students offended, and then we prohibited them. But now it's free speech, and we're going to let hateful calls for violence. They're chanting from the river to the sea, which means, translation, the murder and extinction of all Jews in Israel from the river to
They
the
don't
sea.
even know that that's what it means.
Isn't that scary?
And I think that it's among a couple things that are scary. But I think that one of the most scary things is the fact that people rationalize them. Think about Columbia University and during October 7th and the aftermath after, the tents that were set up outside. I mean, this is not normal. I don't know. I'm 21 years old. Is it normal for you to see something like that? No. And also, going back to the freedoms that we have, if I made a post talking about the COVID vaccine and how I didn't support it, the FBI showed up to my house and said that I was in violation of laws and that I could go to jail for posting on Facebook an opinion. But when there's actual cases of people just using their hatred to hurt other people in a sense that doesn't allow them to have their First Amendment right, to go to class, to participate in what is supposed to be one of the most important things that we have, which is a college campus, is that freedom to express oneself. And you just see what's going on these huge institutions that are thousands and thousands of dollars a year to go to.
Yeah.
Why would you want to go? Why should we continue to call them prestigious colleges if all they are is just an indoctrination camp?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. And unfortunately, that should not be the reality we live in. But we were living in that reality until the recent election and Donald Trump became the president again. And we started to see these college campuses and the college presidents back down. I think it turns to a lack of leadership in the Oval Office over 4 years, but I also think that it was all part of a plan for the right freedoms to be allowed, but also to stunt conservative voices, to not allow them to have the same breath of air as a lot of the irrational ideas that we're seeing in college campuses.
It's a reimagining and effectively the tearing down of what is America and Western civilization. Dylan, final comment.
I don't have much to say, but just to piggyback off of what Rob was saying, yes, everybody needs to advocate for their ideals, but you can't blatantly attack people for pushing out their beliefs either. You have to let both sides of the coin see the light of day.
Agreed. And that's one of the things that Charlie Kirk advocated most. He embodied it. He went to engage in dialogue on campuses. Yep. Last word.
One of my students came up to me and like they were even saying they were afraid to like express like their opinion just about like what we're doing here, like me, Rob, and Dylan, and even myself. Like I'm afraid to put this stuff on my application because I'm going to apply to another school, and if that school sees something even slightly conservative in their opinion, they might frown upon it.
That's scary.
I even had what's it called?
That's scary.
Yes, it's very scary. And people that I work with, because I'm a grad assistant, I teach a classroom. My other grad student like partners, they were saying that like, oh, you're part of the cult, you're doing this. I'm just like, it's freedom of speech. I'm going out of my way and trying to help people, like inform them, and people see it as a problem.
Yeah,
it's scary.
It takes courage for the three of you to do what you do. And as everybody knows, my viewers on this show knows, I will continue to do what I do to support you and to keep telling people the truth. And hopefully there are people out there that have a brain to think, because I wonder if some of them check their brains out to go down the ideological road, like intelligent people that just are closed-minded on the subject. And instead of engaging in reasonable debate, as we discussed, they'll say you're a racist. So they don't have to defend their position. Oh, you're a racist. And they walk away. They scream at you, yell at you, and then walk away. They won't engage because they can't engage, because they can't defend their principles, which is scary. Well, at any rate, thank you for your time. Again, we are here today with three very ambitious and leaders on college campuses engaging in an important argument, in an important debate that needs to be had. And starting Charlie Kirk chapters will provide a vehicle and a platform, as they're trying to do, to create that debate that we need to have again on universities. We'll be back next week. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Volpe Report podcast. Be sure to visit our YouTube and Facebook pages for upcoming episodes. You can catch up on the Volpe Report podcast on your favorite podcast provider.